Cross your T's and dot your I's, but make sure you capitalize those X's. We're talking Season 1, Episode 7, Extreme Measures on the Gifted After Show here today. Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
I'm in love with it.
This show.
So good.
With this show.
So good.
I'm in rapture.
Watching the show. Guys, welcome to the After Show for the Gifted here on AfterBuzz TV. If you haven't already, go to iTunes, look for the show, give us 5 stars, leave us a comment. If you haven't already, also check out our previous episodes, and make sure you follow us on Twitter at AfterBuzz TV and subscribe to AfterBuzz TV Sci-Fi, which is where you can catch all the shows with like heroes and all that kind of stuff, like comic books kind of stuff. I'm your host today, Stephen Lemieux. You can find me on Twitter at STPHNLEMIU_X. And I am joined today. Rick Hong is absent this week because he is spending a fantastic week with his family doing Thanksgiving shenanigans. But luckily, we still have the A-team, 2/3 of the rest of the A-team. We got Steph Sabraw.
What's up, everyone? I'm Steph Sabraw. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Steph Sabraw.
And Michael Young.
And you can find me at One Youngster, which is ONEYOUNGSTA.
So, how many decades from now are you changing your Twitter handle to Michael Old?
Oh my
You know what?
gosh.
I might do Old Youngster.
Old Youngster. That's
Ooh,
pretty
I
sick.
like that.
Now what? Somebody's already taken
Somebody's
it.
already taken it. They got it. They got
Yeah.
it. They're gonna hold you for ransom for that.
I like that.
And then I'll pass my Twitter off to my son.
There you go.
He'll inherit all of
He'll be young Oldster.
So new generation.
Dad,
I'm
you
gonna
use
pass
way
my
too many
Twitter
gifts.
off.
Not to get off track right at the beginning, I'm sorry, but we're gonna be breaking down. This episode had a lot of character development, had a lot of information. It wasn't so much about the action; it was more about like kind of grounding the characters again. Unfortunately, grounding Kate and Reed back with their previous selves. It's kind of getting a little bit old at this
Mundane,
point.
yeah.
But we have a storyline with Lauren and Wes. We got Reed and Wes. We got the Wes conclusion. We're gonna go into the Marcos mission, how he got out of how he convinced Polaris to leave, and then how she finds out, and then how they confront him. And then we have Clarice and John. Luckily, we got Clarice back, so that's going to be a good thing to talk about. And then at the Fortress of Sentinelitude, we have Jace doing some skeevy, sketchy stuff.
He is
Well,
lost
is
it.
Jace really doing the sketchy stuff, or is he kind of like now wrapped up in it unwillingly, sort of?
No, he has no backbone, and he's a part of the problem.
It's like he knows it's wrong at this point, but again, like he's reliving his daughter's death. Like
He
it's
has
fresh in
severe
his mind.
PTSD.
Yeah,
He
so
needs to go home.
should probably.
And for the
go
doctor
home.
to call his daughter's name out like that, it's like,
Yeah,
he should have checked him on that. I'm like,
that doctor is.
don't ever say.
Don't you think this is what she would want? Damn, dude. Cool. So we're gonna start with the West storyline because we get introduced to the powers of seduction character last time.
Powers of seduction.
He's got the power of image manipulation, as they say, on his criminal record, which we find out about today.
Yes.
Yes.
So Wes has a criminal record for stealing from a jewelry store and using image manipulation to cover the cameras, or whatever we assume he does. Again, this is another issue with Reed's character, because when Reed finds out, he starts asking around like, well, what are the stipulations for getting kicked out of here? You know, like he's obviously, it's obviously a vendetta because he's going after his daughter as opposed to like protecting the enclave.
Classic prosecutor Reed.
I mean, I can understand the dad side, but he was. I mean, they're fugitives now, so he should kind of understand a little.
That's what she said to him.
Yeah, it's like you know that we're all doing illegal things. Like just being here, we're breaking the law.
Yeah, like Wes should just be like, oh, let me look up your record. Wanted terrorist. What's worse? Run a jewelry
So
store, wanted terrorist
man.
for breaking convicts out of prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Because you broke out Polaris, then y'all actually beat some people up. So they probably compounded like 20, 30 charges on him. So yeah, he's hating a little too hard. Now, of course, Wes is the teen dream.
Yeah.
He's got the smile, he's got the hair. I don't know where they're doing hair. Maybe there's like someone cutting hair there or something like that.
It's a mutant power.
Yeah, it's a mutant power. He's like, Like the hair.
I think my biggest issue with the whole Wes Reed Lauren is that no one told Wes he's wanted by the Hound group, Hound organization, and now
Yeah.
he's on the outside of the place that they're at, and he's gonna be I feel like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it might be a setup for him being taken by them, but that's why wouldn't they warn him?
Yeah.
They told him everything on his record, but that.
But that.
Well,
people are
that's
looking for you.
That's the thing that's kind of interesting is they have these records, and these are like the mutants that they want for the Hound program, but I don't know if they're actually out there or not. So there's that side of the coin where they want him for the Hound program, but there's the other side of the coin where is he already in the Hound program? So like, is he just
Yeah.
waiting to be activated? Like the demonstration that Campbell gave to Jace was two normal people in jail, but then when they activate them, they turn into something else.
Yeah.
So is Wes already initiated in the Hound program, and that's why they have his record with those files? And is it actually going to save them the fact that they moved him to another camp because he's already in it, and when they activate him, he's not there anymore?
That makes me nervous. I was thinking that, kind of to tie into your question, I don't know necessarily how normal the Hound people who are in the Hound program are Are they their normal selves if they're not activated, or are they? I feel like they're zapped still. You know what I mean?
Like they're still just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
so I
haven't
don't know
really-
if Wes is that. I mean, he very
Yeah.
well could be, and that would be really scary. But I'm not sure that they stay their normal selves.
But I do think that you're right. If we're gonna go along the trail of good writing, what this show has actually been doing, like
Yeah.
compared to a lot of other shows, is this is the last time we see Wes as not a Hound.
Yeah.
Because it makes
Probably.
sense to have Lauren have a love interest that is now taken as a
Again,
Hound.
yeah.
True. And just man, there's so much dirt inside that Hound program. And I mean, we'll get to Jace later, but that doctor needs to be stopped.
And we'll get-
but yeah, I won't say anything else.
We'll talk about the final scene towards the end, but did anyone else get Westworld feelings when they're walking through the warehouse of everyone just standing there like,
Yeah, now that you say that
I haven't
did
seen
come.
Westworld.
It's
at least in this they had their clothes on, but yeah, it was very just kind of like activate my evil army kind of feel. That's
Yeah.
kind
Very
of
freaky.
creepy. Yeah. Ivan Soto's yelling in the
Well,
chat.
and
Trask.
also, let's just quickly touch on the fact that when Lauren gives him that beautiful kiss scene, he was into it, and then as soon as they stopped touching lips, he had no face expression and just went straight into the car.
well, that's because he had to be strong.
I would be so pissed.
He had to be strong on the inside.
You would not even like a wave, like a wing, you know?
Well, I mean, when he
Stephen was like,
when he
I've done that a few times.
well, when he was riding away in the van, we didn't get to see it, but he was looking in the side view mirror, and he was like looking at like.
I just thought that was weird.
And she looked at him like,
Well, it's like it's kind of like Too Little Too Late though,
okay.
because it's
okay.
like she could have come to him beforehand. She could have like been with him in that, but no, she like ran away from him when she found out about his past. It wasn't like, hey, I'm with you whether or not this is who you are.
Yeah.
It was, oh, now that you admitted to everyone and my dad likes you, now I can like you again. So it's kind of like, yeah, she kissed him, but it's kind of like an underhanded thing of, oh, great, yeah, you're kissing me now when I'm already leaving. Like,
Yeah.
kind of a dick
Yeah.
move there, Lauren.
I thought maybe he wouldn't leave.
Maybe he just gained a little bit of her powers to put a barrier around his car.
That would be really awesome.
barrier. But he has to move on because we know that he'll be back later, but he'll probably be in danger or something like that. Or like you said, they'll probably pit them against each other.
So here's one of the things that we have to go over, though, too, is the weird thing was Kate being like, you need to talk to Lauren first. I was like, great idea, is tell your daughter, because that's going to go over well.
Yeah.
It's like the dad telling the daughter he doesn't like the boyfriend. That goes over well all the time.
Well, that, and it's just, I think it would have made more sense to tell Wes that he knows
Yeah.
and been like, you either tell everyone or you get out of here because I don't want you around my daughter if you're going to lie to everybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to like go, we need to tell our daughter first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the West thing would work because he could have approached them kind of like man to man, like, hey, look, this is what I found out. Is it a situation where you were doing this to survive, or were you doing this with ill intent? Because there's a difference. Like, you know, like they say, some people steal for sport, more steal to eat. So were you doing it to survive, just to get by? Or were you doing it because you're, you know, part of some criminal cartel or something like that, you know? And after he finds out what side of the, you know, the playing board he's on or whatever, then he can say, okay, cool. You know, I understand we've all had to do, like, I mean, he's had to break out of jail to survive. So, you know, it would have been nice to get that kind of man-to-man, even though we sort of got it, but I feel it was late in the game. But it would have been nice to see him just be like, hey, look, how did it play out? I want to hear it from you and then figure out how to approach Lauren. And be like, hey, we found this stuff out, but it might not be as bad as you think.
I liked this story. I mean, I did. No, I like the episode a lot still, but I did think this was one of the more weaker storylines that we've seen, just because, like we said in the beginning, they're all criminals, so that they're all wanted. They've all done stuff for survival, so it was just kind of.
That's the thing, is like it's kind of to the point where, I mean, I get it because it's like a jewelry store, so obviously it's not
A little different.
It's not the same as like robbing from a convenience store and stealing food or something like that. But it's also just kind of, you're in this house with tons of other people, and you have to be very careful about how you stir up gossip when everyone's forced to be around each other. And it just didn't make sense to me that he went to his daughter with this info before confronting Wes, because he's a prosecutor. Like, I feel like he would talk to the person in question first.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get the side of it that I get why he did it.
Yeah.
I'm not liking this whole continuously reverting back to like the world is okay, the system works thing.
Yeah.
The system obviously doesn't work.
like
Whenever
you
it comes to
want it to.
mutants, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And Reed, as much as you
Totally.
are attached to this idea of there needs to be some system, you have to realize that you've been putting mutants away into like Guantanamo Bay-like systems for the past years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even if you didn't know, you knew that society in general was not treating mutants in the best light.
Yeah, and if you're an attorney, you know, to not know where people are going when you prosecuted them just seems a little bit.
And here's, I have a bone to pick with Ivan Soto real quick in the chat, because Ivan Soto keeps yelling at us saying he also conned people and the underground is based on trust and blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, Dreamer put a memory in Clarice's head that nobody else knows about. That's causing a huge rift in the underground that only 3 people know about.
True.
Meanwhile, Marcos is going and working for the cartel.
And he likes it too.
Meanwhile,
he likes it a little bit.
Meanwhile, Marcos used to work for the cartel and probably did much worse stuff than Wes did.
Because he was
that
torturing people.
Only Polaris and only John know at the underground. Like, come on, the underground is built on trust. He's conning people. Get over it, God! Like, come on, get over it. Everyone's got their secrets.
Everybody has a little dirt, and I think. In this situation, unfortunately, Wes fell to the kind of like, well, your dirt is dirtier than my dirt kind of thing.
Agreed.
Or like, your dirt, we don't like your dirt as much thing. And you know how, I mean, because all of them have done illegal things. Just not being in jail right now for all of them is illegal. So now they're kind of picking and choosing. You know, Wes caught, especially since he's throwing the mat game down, he caught the short end of the stick. But I mean, he'll come out strong, maybe.
Just a heads up, this is behind the scenes stuff. Bree, can you check your phone for a text from Phil? Okay, so moving on. The Wes conclusion is that he goes away, and he has that nice little kiss. But yeah, I think, Steph, you're really smart about that prediction. I think that's definitely something that they're going to bring up later. Because I think the next episode we'll hear that base got taken down, whatever one he got hooked to.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to have the Lauren freak out in that moment. Let's talk about Marcos. So Marcos gets called. Sorry, Flashlight gets called.
Oh, boy.
Flashlight getting called in the middle of the night. Somebody needs that flashlight in the middle of the night.
I thought I told you never to call this number.
Oh, yeah.
I just think it's kind of dumb that he's like, I just don't feel comfortable doing this. Like, you agreed to it.
Yeah.
Like, as much as, like, you don't feel comfortable, you agreed to it. Like, she didn't force you. You agreed to it. And to be fair, they could have just used the pins in Reed's knee, whether or not they actually. Oh wait, no, they couldn't have because they stopped the car. They had pulse nearby that was turning the powers off. So okay, so never mind. So Marcos's mission, she calls him and says, "Let's get rid of some of these drugs. We just got to blow up some drugs. We're not going to kill anybody, whatever." So he pulls out his little Reaper medallion because like he's got to be all Dia de los Muertos and cool.
It's kind of like when Sylvester Stallone puts his hat backwards. That's when. Oh, sorry, it's over the top. It's this old movie. It's classic, but. Yeah, it's Sylvester Stallone puts his hat to the back. It's all business.
Are you talking about Pokemon?
You know what? It's very similar. Yeah.
Tell me where they got it.
I know, right?
I just think why for one favor? I guess because you're messing with the cartel. He just owes indefinite favors.
I don't understand how that works.
Yeah, because I think she's trying to drag it out for more than it's worth.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, all right, maybe like 3 or 4 favors, and she's kind of like, no, I own you forever. It's a
partnership. Yeah.
Yeah, she's trying to ride this out.
Yeah, I just have a feeling like you don't mess with him, because I mean we see in this episode his fury that he's taking out on those drugs. Like he could very easily just burn her to a cinder and just like walk away.
Yeah.
He could take down the cartel to a certain degree if he wanted to.
Well, they have other mutants working for them, or at least one that we know of.
And that's what I was gonna get at. Sorry,
no,
not to interrupt you, but I think right now we're totally on this whole path of like, yeah, they're using him as a mutant, and they have this other mutant that can slow down time and slow down stuff like that, and like stop people. And I'm like, okay, great, but what happens when these other cartels you're against bring out their mutants?
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, yeah, we're the only ones with mutants. Like, no, you're probably not. And I feel like Marcos is in a lot of danger for the next favor that we hit.
Yeah.
I think next episode for sure.
Yeah, because this one was way too sly and quick and under the radar.
Blowing up boxes.
You're right. If this cartel is using them, there's other cartels that are definitely using them, or gangs, or whoever. And I like how it adds another layer to the craziness of this world, because you have Hound using mutants, you have cartels using mutants. You really have this crazy world where, mutant powers are being almost commoditized. Yeah. And so now that, with the fact that we know Marcos definitely liked it a little bit, because on his face he was like, yeah. He was like, I still got it. But I wonder if this is going to change him, because Polaris is kind of pulling away from him, and of course I can't think of the cartel lady's name. Right? Carmen definitely wants him. She's trying to front like she don't want him. She wants him. But so I wonder if this might sway him to the dark side.
Maybe.
I don't think so.
I was thinking that, I think it was Stephen, we were all kind of talking about how people are going to have alliances, and so I think we're seeing now the mutants are with the cartel and the government is working with the doctors now, so we have those alliances. But to the point you were saying with Marcos, I think that we're going to continue to see more character development with him, which we did today with last episode. I don't think it's going to change him, but I do think that what Carmen was saying, that Polaris is the only thing he actually believes in, so like he does care about the underground, but it's not really as much as it is more Polaris. Yeah, so I don't know if it will change him, but it's definitely going to continue to cause controversy.
Well, to go to that point, we do get a flashback of John and Polaris meeting him for the first time.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting because that's back when he was still with Carmen.
Yeah.
And Polaris is pulling a Carmen there being like,
oh, Polaris threw a little game at him.
She's not the only strong woman.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And you saw, he's like,
yeah. He like, yeah, I see you, girl.
He's like, wait, you have powers? What? You can make Aurora Borealis? What? You stirring that coffee?
He like, yeah, girl, stir that coffee.
I'm gonna just give that a moment of silence.
Yo, this that Marcos game.
Rest in peace, that comment.
Hashtag stir that coffee.
So he goes to the Polaris finds out because she calls the place he was supposed to be getting supplies from. Oh, he'd be getting supplies somewhere else. And they're like, we don't have any supplies. We're dirt broke and we don't have anything. We haven't heard from anyone on your team. And then she looks in the room and finds that his Reaper medallion is gone. So he'd be going and doing Death Blossom somewhere else, Overwatch joke, and then she decides to go to the mansion, visits the mansion with Dreamer. So
And she knew exactly where it was too. They didn't have to, she was like, "Oh, I know exactly where it is."
so
That
this
was
is
my
the
favorite scene of the.
oh yeah, this is the dream team of Polarity Pancakes, because it's Polaris and Syrup, which I've been calling Dreamer. And again, I think the actress is doing a wonderful job with the character, and it is that just who the character is, but it is just like Syrup coming
Yeah.
on screen. Like, it's just very like wispy and
Wispy.
Yeah, I don't.
just wanna, like,
understand
yawn.
her.
But I love them together though.
Yeah.
But they're dangerous together. It's almost like
Oh yeah.
they're like the two kids in the class. Like, y'all can't sit together.
yeah, Dreamer brings out the worst in Polaris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely get separated
So-
on team captains.
They walk up to the gate. The guard's like, "Ooh, hey, mama, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Girl.
Oh yeah, come here. And then suddenly they have one knocked out and the gunner on the other one's next, choking him to.
Yo,
I love
Polaris
that
throws
part.
people so well. He's like, "Hey, girl, how's it going?"
Yes.
If only there was a van for him to go into, that would have been better. Like, but she threw him
Oh, I love that
straight
one.
into the woods or the shrubs or whatever, never to be seen again.
Do you feel like her powers have gotten exponentially stronger since the first episode? Because she gets taken down pretty easy in the first episode,
Yeah.
and nowadays it's like, oh, you got 20 people with guns.
Well, I think it's because remember Marcos got shot, so maybe she wasn't on her game. But now, she's clear. So now since she's clear, she's coming in there. She's
Yeah,
like,
she was so clever.
stopping bullets and throwing people in the bushes and all kinds of stuff. And she's at the top of her game right now. You can't stop Polaris.
My mutant power is throwing people in bushes. I'm useless when there's no bushes around.
It's like, does anyone have a van? All right, cool. I can do that.
Does anyone have perhaps a small plant, a fern maybe?
Oh,
Just
boy.
carrying around plants. I gotta throw people into these.
Hold on, let me put this down real quick.
So Dreamer uses her power on the guy, and they find out where they all went to take on the drug cartel. And of course, what was weird to me in one scene was the fact that they're loading all these drugs. They have all these people around, but they don't notice the super conspicuous like 3 big black SUVs waiting outside the compound.
There should be a lookout.
Yeah.
There really should be a
Like,
lookout.
where's the lookout
You're
for this
doing-
gigantic drug deal?
You're cartelling wrong. Like,
Yeah.
You're
Agreed.
really cartelling wrong because it's like they're right there. They're not
not
I can
even
see They
hiding.
were like around the block.
It's
but they
daylight.
They weren't even that far away, and she has binoculars. She's like, "All right, cool." Right there.
So Polaris decides to show up at the worst possible time with Dreamer, just in time to see Carmen. Basically, I think Marcos is in like this post, like getting it off his chest, like
Yeah,
getting
like-
their anger out, kind of like tired and like. I hate to use like.
Like finally, I was ready to let loose or something like thing, or is it more of a like tired situation?
It's like that feeling you get when you just leave like an hour massage, like you're just kind
Yeah.
of like
Okay.
dazed
Like a
and kind of like
release.
and like you had the release, and now he's just like kind of not even there, and she's like taking advantage of that to like kiss him on the cheek, and Polaris sees that at the worst time.
That was I was like cringing at that time for Polaris.
That's like a very classic TV writer trope.
Yeah,
And
the kiss.
It's weird the I guess the confidence that Carmen has because that we know of, Carmen has no powers and Polaris has a lot of powers.
don't know that.
And well, yeah, that's true. She might have powers and we just don't know. But she really just flaunts it all up in Polaris' face, like I don't care about Magnet Girl and stuff. And it's like, wow, like can you back those words up?
What do you think about the new mutant we get introduced to with the powers of like slowing down everything going on?
I thought that was pretty cool.
I just don't know why he has gills.
Yeah, I was kind of confused on that as well. Like,
I know, like, I mean, because usually the types of markings or whatever it is has to do with the power, right?
Oh, okay.
well, it's like you think sometimes, but this show hasn't really been going with that too well.
Yeah,
you
I
look at
guess.
Clarice and you're like, oh yeah, it makes sense. She has green eyes because she opens portals. But then you're like, why does that really make sense?
No, I didn't. Yeah, that she
It's
was
just like
the
that's
one
what
I
Blink
didn't
looks
get.
like,
Yeah.
and it's just like okay.
I think we're going too much on the fact that like Toad acts like a frog and like people like Blowfish or whatever has like the pins and stuff,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah.
porcupine
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
So I mean, his power is very useful. Because I was like, you guys are going to kill them when you said he wasn't going to kill anyone. And then he didn't.
So that works, and who knows how powerful he can be, and if he'll be used against Marcos
Yeah.
later on. But I like to see this door opening of society viewing and using and even manipulating mutants in a different way. I mean, it's bad for mutants, but it's good for TV.
True.
I think it'd be cool to have Marcos versus that guy in some kind of showdown, because he slows down everything, but can he slow down something that's the speed of light? Like, that's kind of a cool thing. Like, perhaps
Yeah.
Marcos is like
True.
the anti-power to him.
Yeah.
So moving on, Marcos goes back to the compound. Polaris is rightfully pissed off at him. He's still playing up his cover, but she's like, your Reaper thing was, he like pulls it out of his shirt. It's like, hey. And he's like, it's not like that. And she's like, well, you didn't tell me. He's like, I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah, he was being really
He definitely
dumb
should
about
have
it.
told her, this guys, let me
Well,
give
now
you a-
you told me.
Let me give you a little relationship advice. All right. Say you have a girlfriend. She's pregnant. Your fugitive's on the run. And your ex-girlfriend, who's
Just say-
super powerful, right? Helps you get her out of jail.
Common story.
Common story. Happens to everybody. All right. If you owe her a debt at all, the first thing you should do is tell your girlfriend, which also has powers, who could kill you, definitely in your sleep, because I think Polaris would kill somebody in their sleep. You need to tell her, honey, I'm glad you're out of jail, but I had to make a deal to get you out of jail. It's not my favorite deal, but this is the only hand I had to play. She might be like, you know what? I'm mad, but I might be able to deal with this.
But here's the thing: is like at the end of the episode, you see him sleeping next to her again. So obviously, they're not like
yeah, they're not
completely
bro-
split.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I think they're like essentially soulmates in terms of their powers and everything that they've gone through. So I don't think that would split them, but I think it's a huge trust issue.
Yeah, and she's
Rightfully so.
Her and Carmen are definitely gonna butt heads later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Girl
sure.
fight.
Can't wait for the showdown between those two.
Hashtag feminism.
He gets called again at the end, and he's got to do another mission for Carmen. 'Cause
Yeah.
he is her bitch,
Yeah.
basically.
Totally.
Moving on to tell you guys about iTunes. iTunes is a great little app you can use. It's on most computers, and it also has a place where you can go to the store and like download things you want. One of those things you can
Wow.
download there is a podcast. So a podcast is like an audio file that you listen to. So basically everything you're hearing now on YouTube, you can listen to on iTunes on something called an iPhone or an
Interesting.
iPod.
Wow.
Yeah, blown away. But the fun fact is if you go to iTunes and type in The Gifted, we're the podcast right there. And you can hit that subscribe button to get the show every week as soon as we publish it. And you can also say, hey, I like these guys a lot. Great. There's a cool little place where you can put 5 stars and your own review that attaches your name to it. And you will get a shout out on the show if you do that. Everybody likes shout outs.
Yeah.
We didn't get any of them last week, which is really disappointing because I was just in such a mood to shout out people.
I was in
Yeah.
such
I was
a
just
mood.
ready to just shout, let it all out. On the mountain. I was going to go tell it on the mountain.
Go tell her.
I was going to have the high ground, Anakin.
Oh
She was ready for that.
man. Oh boy.
And our engineer says, who still uses iPods? Well, I'll tell you what. Our amazing listeners still use iPods.
Yeah.
Because they're all around the world. Don't speak the language, but the X-Men don't need explaining.
Oh.
Well, actually, it
Capital
does because that's why we do
X.
this show. But please do that. Also, hit that thumbs up button on the YouTube, and make sure that after the broadcast is over, you're leaving comments. You're leaving comments whenever, so we can reply to them. We still get comments on like last week's and weeks ago's episodes. Luckily, we look at those too.
Yeah.
You know, we get some pretty nice compliments from time to time, which is really
And some
enjoyable.
great theories. You guys have some great theories that you drop in the comments. so
True.
thank you for that.
Apparently, I gave Ursine Comic Geek a shout out, but Steven mispronounced my name. Well, great. I don't know what to do better. Tell me.
Can you phonetically spell
Yeah,
it out?
spell it phonetically.
please? Thank you.
And Peggy says sexy dating for adult chicks. Check out my profile for link. How about I'm gonna ban you from being in the chat roll? Cool.
And it's Peggy too.
I'm
Peggy
just in a
18.
shout out type of mood. Peggy, block.
Like it's the one of the sexiest names. See, I'm about to get in trouble because
Yeah,
I'm sure
just
there's like
shut it down.
There's like 40 Peggy's right now. Like what?
You got Angelica, Eliza,
Hi,
and Peggy.
Peggy.
Our systems detect that a host has wandered off the subject. Please return at
Thank
once.
you. Thank you.
Thank you
for
Our
for
that.
systems detect
You
that
can
a
turn it
host has
off
wandered
now. We're here. So, Clarice and John decides, hey, maybe that person who can make portals is a little bit important to us, so let's go find her.
Yes.
We find her making a can of soup and burning her hand on it, which is, as you find most portal makers.
Completely.
Oh,
That was
Dreamer doesn't think that she's important though.
The cake is a lie.
Yeah, oh yeah. Blink is important, and that whole plot line was my favorite of
Yeah,
this
Dreamer's getting
episode.
thirsty again.
Yeah.
And she's just
Yeah.
being terrified that, like, Clarice is going to take her away.
And she's
take
not
John
being
away
a
from her.
good leader because the leaders of the underground should be doing what's the best for the overall. And if you're
Yeah.
gonna let your romance stop you from having a portal person in
Yeah.
your group, you're doing things wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, leadership first. All right.
We don't need
Love
her.
second.
We don't need her. We can do this. We can do this. Like,
No.
sorry, there's somebody who can teleport us places. Like,
Yeah.
get out of here. Like,
That's
that's
super helpful.
who do you want more? The person who can just put memories in other people's heads and create love triangles, the power to create love triangles, or the power to teleport people miles
Yeah,
away?
it's like
And
it's
lead
like,
scenes instantly.
It's like, look, Dreamer, here are the most important people. All right, you got John, because he's
Yeah.
the leader and he knows how to track people. He can find things.
useful.
He can,
Super strength.
and he can also use like memories and super strength. Also, Polaris, because of the whole
Magneto thing. She's
the whole
cool.
Magneto thing.
Everything.
She's killing it. And then I know you guys in the chat know Data Girl, the girl that knows all the data, can look at all the data. She's super important. All right, and Blink, she's super important. Everyone else is kind of important
For now, yeah.
So Sage was really cool in this. We didn't talk about Sage, but yeah, like the
Oh,
whole
Sage.
data
Sorry,
girl
okay,
is Sage,
sorry.
and her eyes moving
Data
back and
girl.
forth was a cool,
That was
a cool
awesome.
effect. Yeah, but if you want the power to create love triangles, that's more of a power for a show on Freeform. But this is Fox, so we're gonna stick with
So we're
Clarice
Team
here.
Blink.
We're gonna take Blink over Dreamer. We'll take Blink for 500, please, Alex Trebek.
Her acting was so good.
She's so good.
She's
Yeah.
so good, and that whole orphanage scene was really sad and real, and it made you feel like, when she was like, "I do have something to fight for, and this is what my fight is." I was like, "Yes."
This
And
is
No, but
they had a real
yes.
moment. They had a
Yeah.
real moment together.
a real romantic moment.
Sparks flying.
But what was weird is that she's like, I don't know what that road is. I don't know what that road is. But like, the whole orphanage was a big part of her life. You'd think that she'd kind of naturally remember that, but maybe something screwed. Maybe activating her powers screwed up her.
Yeah.
I don't know. They find the road because John says, well, think of places that, maybe it's somewhere that you think is safe, because animalistic instincts are run away to somewhere that's safe if they're in
Yeah.
danger.
That was cool.
So they find the house, and it was an orphanage for mutants, for parents who gave them up. And then John uses his tracking powers to see that there's tons of boot prints, and then there's tape on the
Yeah.
door, and big pools of blood. Does not
Yeah.
bode well for the parents of the
Sentinel
orphanage.
services are savages.
Yo,
Alliteration. Love
they're
it.
doing they're definitely doing a lot of type of covert black bag operations that we find out later that Sentinel Services isn't particularly like a government agency. They're not like the DMV, or it's not
Yeah.
like they're not they
not
don't
as
have
regulated.
like rules and regulations and stuff.
I just want everyone to mark this, that he just compared Sentinel Services to the DMV.
Yeah, I was like,
Sometimes the evil nature can align. I'm just saying, guys. Let's be real. If you've been to the DMV in the last couple years,
that's not it.
it can be tough.
They have the mutant power of bureaucracy. Hermes from Futurama.
Wrong form.
So we do get the scenes, and it is really sad with Clarice and
Yeah.
John there, because he basically confirms that they died protecting the other kids.
Yeah.
But this was really important because, as Clarice says in the beginning, you're working for the underground. This is you. This is your fight. And then we have this storyline that doesn't take 6 episodes.
Yes.
We have
Yeah.
one episode focused on Clarice, saying this is her
Totally.
backstory. This is who she comes from. Now, why does she care about the fight against Sentinel Services? Because of this.
It's
Yes.
directly affecting her now.
And this
Yeah.
show that's one
More,
thing that
I
makes
mean, it
this,
has been, but
yeah, like this is the thing that makes the show great. They deal with things expeditiously. Like they don't hold this on for like, it's not like next season and we're finally getting to see Blink's backstory. No, we dealt with that. We dealt with Wes. We dealt with Polaris and Eclipse. We dealt, like, there's so many things that we dealt with, like, just quickly.
Yeah.
But you realize that they're doing this, they're building a really solid foundation for seasons to come, because instead of using whole episodes to focus on backstories, we're tying their backstories in with current episodes and current events. So,
Yeah.
like, Clarice has the orphanage. We have Lauren and Andy have their school thing. But now with Wes, Lauren may have a reason to be more anti-Sentinel Services
Yeah.
coming up in the future. Marcos, we get a few flashbacks, but mostly he's working with the cartel now, and we can see the disposition of him with that. John, you know that him and Dream are in this weird place, but you also have his military background that you don't really have to focus too much on because it's self-explanatory
Yeah.
with his best friend Pulse being taken down by Sentinel
Yeah.
Services. And then you also hear about his father being in the X-Men. You take Shatter. Shatter we haven't learned too much about yet, but I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
The whole thing behind him is that he tried to kill himself because he had power. He put a bullet in his head, and that's what the Shatter thing is from. And there's an interview out there with the actor who plays Shatter, and he was a huge comic book geek before the show. And the audition, it was super under wraps. He didn't know what role he was auditioning for. He didn't know what show it was. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, you're this character," and he immediately went out and bought a baseball bat. And was just walking around with a baseball bat for like weeks to come, because that's like the comic book character's thing.
Cool.
He's the most closely cast to the character from the comics.
That's
It's ridiculous.
awesome.
Reed and Kate, I feel like the reason they're still sticking to the suburban lifestyle kind of opinions is because that is their background. And if you have no character that's thinking that way, then the audience can very easily get sucked into this whirlpool of there's not a world outside of the underground.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
while it
that's
is
a good point.
annoying, I see the reason that they keep like bringing you back to the fact that you are still in the world where
And the
people
little
believe in the
school
laws.
stuff was kind of nice. You know, you
Yeah.
had the younger kids.
I would be pissed if I had homework though.
And they didn't.
Yeah.
And they didn't overspend time on that. Either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got like 2 minutes, and then they moved on.
Yeah.
You know, that was great.
But
So-
what you were saying, just the pairing of the characters seems really thought out, and the characters are just perfect for the show. Like how Clarice and John kind of have like this love story. The fact that he's a tracker and she's the portal maker, like he's obviously can find her if she runs away, which I wasn't thinking about. I was like, she's not
I'll
going to be
always
away
find
forever,
you.
but he finds her, and that's the only person that can. So I love how they all go together.
Luckily, he's a good guy and not just a stalker.
Yeah. Yes, that could be really creepy.
That would be weird.
So, and then to finalize my thought is we also have Jace.
Oh yeah.
So let's move ahead to Jace, because Jace is also a character where we get a storyline that intersects with a lot of the mutant storylines and kind of provides him reasons for everything he's doing. Because before, it was 5 years in the past, his daughter was killed by mutants, and he was kind of on the verge of using all of his resources at their expense. But now that his daughter has died again freshly in his mind, he's going a little bit more to the post PTSD kind of feeling of like really diving in on like hurting them.
Like all means necessary.
So he is using Dr. Campbell. We get introduced to the head of the DOD, Department
DOJ.
Department of Justice, and this woman still views mutants as American citizens.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting, because we see that people in the higher up positions still are in the gray of like mutants are humans. We need to treat them like guns, but at the same time they're not illegal. Like they're still American citizens. And because Dr. Campbell's in the office, Jace stands up to her. But then when they're meeting with everybody, we have the Hound that's been with Jace that I thought was the power of concealment, but no, it's the power to
Stroke you out.
So I guess
He's a
choke your
bloodbender.
organs or whatever. Yeah.
He's a bloodbender. It kind of seems like if you guys
that
ever watched
was
Avatar.
very
Creepy.
graphic and creepy.
Yeah.
And,
And
well
also-
done, but creepy.
Yeah, and also the fact that Jace was kind of like sitting there watching it happen, it made me think about the prediction that you had, like, what, episode 2 or whatever, where you're like, yeah, I think he's going to go with them for a little bit and then be like, you know what, I can't go any further, and then flip to the other side.
I was enraged. Like, that whole scene, first off, it was kind of explain that the DOJ is just getting in on this, you know, like they just wanted to
Well, he
surveillance
doesn't care about
everyone.
court orders.
Yeah, but that he was just standing by. He knew it was happening. Just like he's taking it way too far.
Well, he didn't realize till later that it was the mutant doing it.
Yeah, I guess that was just like the filming, the angles and stuff made me think that he saw him.
But now he's pushed a little bit further away from the doctor, and he's realizing that he's started something that he might not be able to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now that the DOJ is taken out, it's but that'll take a few weeks, and by then we'll already have the Strucker children.
And now the
Dr.
doctor
Campbell
can do
doesn't
that.
give a Dr. Campbell doesn't give a crap about Jace or anything. He just wants the children, and then he's outie. So this is like the beginnings of Jace kind of having regrets as to what he's kind of started.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be a moment between him choosing between saving a mutant and the doctor getting them. I think he may prevent the doctor
Like
from getting the
finale
kids.
time or something like that, maybe?
This show's moving pretty fast. We're on episode 7. We have 6 more, I think. So I think between now and then, we may see Jace make a big turn. Still be neutral, like still be like not know what he's doing, but still not want the children to end up in the doctor's hands.
Because he's seeing a lot of stuff. You can see on his face where he's like, you know, that idea when you're like, hey guys, I think we're going too far.
Yeah. That was creepy.
The scene was terrifying though, because they did the whole half of her body thing too, where like you notice while she's like squirming, half her face is just drooping, like serious stroke level stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, I saved someone, and you got the warrants or whatever you wanted. It's like, yeah, but you made this happen.
And then he was like, they're going to call someone else. He's like, well, we have a few weeks. I'm like, so you know exactly what's going to happen. And
because he's probably done this before.
Yeah. So I do want to point out that earlier in the episode, we get a big reveal that for 30 years, Reed's father worked with Trask Industries.
Yeah.
And Trask Industries is very related to Dr. Campbell.
Yes.
And Reed's father is still alive, which is the grandfather that we were talking about before that Sharon Glass is married to. So,
and now this could be, I mean, like change the story of Reed, because we didn't really know if maybe they carried the X gene or, you know what. So, because they were saying that program does a lot of gene suppression, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if like maybe he's practiced on Reed, suppressed his genes.
Like when he
I
was
was just like,
younger
it
or whatever.
opens a whole can of worms.
yeah, he might have prevented his son from being a mutant.
Yeah.
Or maybe Reed was a mutant and he took away his powers or something like that.
Yeah.
We don't know, but we learned that he worked for Trask for a very long time, and Trask is one of the development places for all these anti-mutant technologies. So everyone at the Underground was quite alarmed that Reed was related to the person who basically founded the Hound program.
Yeah, because it's like now not only, all right, you're a prosecutor and you work for Central Service, we kind of let that go. We dealt with that. We're not happy about it, but you're here and we're kind of dealing with it. Now your dad worked at Trask for 30 years? We need to have a house meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. House meeting.
Let's put aside the fact that Wes robbed a jewelry store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your dad worked at Trask for 30 years.
And I mean, well, now at the same time, did your dad work at Trask and he was just like filing papers, or was he like the guy? Which I'm pretty sure he was the guy, like working there, like, experimenting on people or making technologies or working on Sentinels, making the roly things, or who knows.
Yeah.
So it's
a lot of people in the
doesn't look
chat
good for
think
me.
that he's a Von Strucker, which is a comic book reference. So the Strucker last name is one of the big tie-ins from this show to the comics. Obviously, the Struckers have always been
known to
not really be the good guys. And people have been prefacing this since the series began.
Yeah.
That, okay, there's definitely a reason they use the Strucker last name. And in the books, there is twins that are Struckers, that are the kids. So a lot of this kind of stuff is loosely taken.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are asking like various questions of like, do you think they're going to bring in this? Do you think they're going to bring in this? Do you think this character is this? Do you think this character is this? It's like the show is being very careful not to dive into canon.
Yeah.
Which I think is really smart, because as soon
it's
as
doing
you
a good job of kind of like using canon without directly tying itself to a person or a thing.
They're not directly saying this is Earth 661 or whatever. They're not
616.
saying 616. They're not saying that, which is good because this is its own thing, and I like that they're loosely basing because that allows them to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the best way to use Wolverine in the show would be to use it as more of a reference and not a character.
Oh, like a memory.
Yeah, like Trask Industries.
When Wolverine was around, or when Wolverine did this.
Like if we do a flashback, if we meet the father, and he does a flashback to Trask Industries and talks about how things changed, and just it shows like a flashback of a lab just torn apart with like the claw marks everywhere. Kind of like, because I think that would bring people in like more like the X-Men exist in this universe. I think what we're missing right now is, okay, we've gotten name drops the X-Men, as I started last week's show with, but who are the X-Men and what mutants are the X-Men in this universe?
Because are we dealing with, for the classic X-Men people, are we talking about the blue team or the gold team?
Yeah, so that's what I want to know. I want to know who are the mutants who are part of the X-Men in this universe, so we can start putting some red lines together on who could be out there.
Yeah.
Like, is Xavier in this universe? Is Storm in this universe? Is Cyclops in this universe? Like, who's, like, of course, John's father? Like, so I think we're getting on episode 8 next week. I think we're going to start seeing that. Again, I still think that there's an imminent attack on the underground coming.
Yeah.
Totally.
It didn't happen this week.
Yeah.
But this week was a good episode because it focused on a lot of other stuff that we need to get out of the way.
We already know they're working on moles, so we don't know. There could be like 4 or 5 moles in the I guess the hideout. I'll just say hideout right now.
And now, we have the introduction of Reed's father, and so is he we know he's alive? Is he gonna come back? Is he working with them?
Yeah. So we'll see. We're out of time today, guys. So please hit that thumbs up button. Leave us a comment after this broadcast's over. Go to iTunes. Leave us 5 stars. Leave us a comment. Go watch the trailer for Incredibles 2 because that came out yesterday.
Yes!
And yeah, that's our show. Where can we find you guys in the meanwhile?
I'm Steph Sabraw. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Steph Sabraw.
And you can find me at One Youngster, which is ONEYOUNGSTA.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux, STPHENLEMIEUX. We will see you guys next week for The Gifted, Season 1, Episode 8. Tune in then. Take care.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Go watch The Punisher. It's so good.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.